Well, we've got an election coming up in the United Kingdom in December, and it's all about Brexit. Brexit, 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 or no Brexit. What will it be? Well, from my horse racing expertise, spanning many, many years, going back to 1973, having a flutter each way, you can't always do that in an election. Boris Johnson, of course, my 10th cousin, is Prime Minister now, and I was very critical of him running. I thought he was running prematurely. I thought he should have held off and waited for this Brexit dust storm to settle, because I actually thought Theresa May was making headway. She might have been caught in an eddy and been bobbing up and down in the river, not seeming to make any progress, but I think the European Union was actually warming to her, and a relationship was being established. And quite often you need time to put roots down, and they need time to grow. And of course, Boris came along and ripped her out of the ground, and all that good work that she'd done for the previous 2 years is just gone. So now, brave Boris, who's trying to be a bit Winstonian Churchillian, courtesy of the book he wrote on Winston Churchill. It's funny how some people can write a book and they think they've instantly got the qualities of the subject matter, but anyway, that's another story. He's been elected Prime Minister, and whilst I can't really see Jeremy Corbyn beating him in the election, because simply Jeremy Corbyn, in my opinion, does not have what it takes. He made a terrible stuff up trying to second guess what Trump would do with the UK in terms of trade and the NHS. And the NHS is most definitely not on the table, as we found out from the NATO summit. So Jeremy Corbyn's looking like he's got egg all over his face now, only a week out from the election. Boris Johnson is starting to look stronger, although I wish he'd learn how to comb his hair and get his teeth fixed. And I think Boris' problem is he's been a journalist and he thinks he knows it all. He thinks he knows how to handle the media, and he doesn't. He really doesn't. Being a journalist is very, very different to being a politician. Now, I know he's been the Mayor of London and he was very good from what I could see, but the Mayor of London is not under the same pressure as a Prime Minister or a leader of a nation. It's a whole new box and dice. So I do think he needs to work on his media skills and be a bit more humble and admit the fact that he needs help. And he most certainly does, because his judgment was appalling with that American call girl, or whatever she was, that got involved in his campaign. She obviously was a gold digger. I mean, I could see that the first time I saw her on the TV, acting like a galoot on stage, and she was just starstruck. She just was after Boris Johnson left, right and centre, and yes, he probably did do the deed with her. And do I care? No, that's his business. But I'm hoping that if he's married, he didn't do it. But if he's separated, as I suspect he is, or if he just has a girlfriend and it's on the rocks after the that argy-bargy that went on and spilt glasses of red wine whilst I was over in London. When was that? Back in May, June. If that's now ancient history and he's truly a free man, then he can have as many affairs as he likes. It doesn't affect the running of the country. Just it involves a little thing called character. Anyway, back to my predictions for the election. Yes, I think Boris will win. Am I happy about that? No. But the only good thing is he's sticking to his guns on honouring the referendum where 52% of the people in the United Kingdom voted for Brexit. They voted for breakfast. Well, their bloody hunger has been going on so long, they need a good feed, some of them. No, they voted for Brexit. They voted for Brexit, and by gum, they should get Brexit. But do I have faith in Boris's ability to deliver Brexit? No, I do not. I'm predicting it's going to be more of the same complicated mire that poor Theresa May had to encounter. And I fully predict another 2 years will pass and the United Kingdom will still be in this chaotic state. And I do predict that the Queen will have to step in and hopefully, here's a tip for you, Labor, find another leader. You've got 2 or 3 in the background there that I do like, that I think have got potential. You've got to clean up your anti-Semitism nonsense. You've got to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn. Somebody needs to tap him on the shoulder quickly. As soon as he loses the election next week, he must go. I mean, you see him walking down the street, you would think a popular leader would be surrounded by friends, or at least 1 or 2 that he's always with. But he's always cutting this lonely figure, which does not look good on TV. I mean, somebody needs to give him some media training too, that when he leaves his house, he's got to have somebody meet him to make him look important. You got to fake it till you make it, guys. So anyway, Jeremy Corbyn will be tapped on the shoulder after he loses the election next week. There will be a bloodletting big time in Labor in the UK. And I think 3 people will contest the leadership in the Labor Party. Boris will be re-elected. I'm very impressed with the young lady with the, I think the Liberal Democrats, is that what they're called? She's quite nice. She's actually offering an alternative for the people who feel that the 52% who voted for Brexit, maybe now those 2% or 3% on the edge have teetered back and forth, and they may well change their minds by now. And that's the other thing, you see. Lord Reags, which is me, 10th cousin of Boris Johnson, 9th cousin of Queen Elizabeth, 6th cousin of Princes William and Harry, 7th great-grandson of King Charles II, but let's not digress. The thing is that this election should have had an option. Someone should have suggested a plebiscite. If you're going to have an election, you should also have included a question for the voters, and they could have done it at the polling booths. Do you still support Brexit, or have you changed your mind? Do you want to stay, or do you want to leave? And how did you vote before, and how are you going to vote now? How would you vote now? And then that valuable data, that simple data there, that could be tallied up in a matter of weeks, and you could actually figure out if there's been a 5 or 10% swing back to remaining, or indeed you might see a swing away to say 60% for Brexit, which would be invaluable data, because the UK of today is not the UK of 2 years ago. There's been a lot of things happen since then, including immigration concerns and lots more stabbings. A lot of people have died in the last 2 years as a result of immigration. So there's a lot of anger and angst in the streets of the UK, and in particular London. You can see the panic when this one guy that was released prematurely from jail, and the 2 people who got him released, who were doing this university study with him, they're the ones who get stabbed, and one of them another one has to bring the guy down. What a lunatic that guy was, and that should never happen again. Anyway, It's now 10 minutes, so I better wrap things up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. So I'm predicting Boris Johnson will be returned as Prime Minister. He won't be a good one, I'll tell you that now. He might get on okay with Trump for about 6 months, but sooner or later, the gloves will come off. Jeremy Corbyn will be tapped on the shoulder. He'll be replaced as leader by somebody much better, and actually somebody popular, who doesn't need to write bloody questions down when fielding questions from reporters. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Imagine him, Jeremy Corbyn, alongside Trump. Trump just fields questions, bang, bang, bang. He can do a machine gun style, and he answers each individual question generously, puts a few minutes in it, and I know he's dreadfully repetitive in some of his answers, but he doesn't shy away from the tough questions. Jeremy Corbyn, when he's saying, oh, what's your question? Oh, right, I'll just write that down. And then there's this pregnant pause of a minute while he writes one question down. Now, what's the next one? And he gets all these questions down. And then at the end, he starts to answer some. And I guarantee he would neglect to answer at least 3 out of 10. 30% of the questions wouldn't be answered at all, or they'd be answered very, very poorly because they're not off the cuff. The guy is not a media-savvy leader. He needs to go. So get rid of Jeremy Corbyn. You'll re-elect Boris Johnson. And good luck with Boris. He's a nice guy, but sometimes you need a strong leader. And I don't think he's a strong leader. I'm sorry about that. I think the other Jeremy in the Conservatives should have been the right choice. He's an absolute gentleman, and he will be the next Prime Minister after Boris. Because I think Boris is going to stuff up in his first 12 months of re-election, and he may well find himself in very big trouble in the polls, and he might be replaced as leader. And the Queen could move in and appoint somebody else Prime Minister if the government falls into crisis, in a constitutional crisis. That could happen within the next 2 years. That is the opinion of Lord Reags, the world's best value horse racing tipster since 1973. And I've covered many, many elections since 1978. Many budgets, Australian, UK and American politics. And that's just my 2 bobs worth. So from beautiful down under, the Hunter Valley of New South Wales, Australia, which is burning as we speak, sadly. And we need water, we need help. And we've got Americans and Canadians who've flown in to help us with our bushfire situation. But I've run out of time. I can't talk about that anymore. But I have done a little song, incidentally, to raise money for the Rural Fire Service of New South Wales, which you can find on YouTube. It's called Dancing in My Sleep, or Dancing in My Dreams. And 100% of the proceeds of that song will go to benefit the firefighting efforts, dollar for dollar, with the state and federal governments of Australia and New South Wales, because we're running out of water. We've got a major crisis. We're going to have to buy water from overseas or something. It's just ridiculous. But we've had so much bushfire fighting in the last month or so, all over the state of New South Wales, and you could fit 6 United Kingdoms in the state of New South Wales. So just think about that. That's the size and magnitude of Australia. So not 6 United Kingdoms in Australia. You could fit 36 United Kingdoms in Australia, but 6 could fit in New South Wales alone. And 70% of the state has been burned raw because we didn't do any backburning, because the Greenies said, oh, no, you can't do that. No, can't do that. So we've had all this powder keg situation arise, dry grass everywhere and dry bark everywhere, where normally we do a bit of burning like the Aborigines taught us over 100 years ago, they taught us how to do correct backburning. And are we listening? No. So we're listening to the Greens. We're frightened of the Greens, the do-gooders. Don't get me started. Anyway, thankfully, only 4 people have lost their lives, I think, but there's been lots of loss of property, but all those koalas are gone. That's horrible, but very sad. Anyway, no matter how you vote, United Kingdom, this week, as long as you vote, that's the most important thing. Get your neighbours out to vote, get your family who are over 18 eligible to vote, get them all out to vote, because the diggers died for democracy and your right to vote. Have your say and enjoy democracy. Best of luck to you.